What's up guys, this is Oink here and this is episode 1 of GT5 Practice Center. In this episode I'm going to be going into understeer, why it happens and how you can prevent it. So I'm going to bring up some driving lines here. I'm going to show you the desirable driving line and the understeer driving line. So the blue line you see there is the ideal driving line you want to take. Start wide, cut through the middle of the corner, hit the clipping point or the apex of the turn and finish wide. This is generally regarded as the fastest way through a corner and it's what you want to aim for generally. If your car has experienced understeer, you will often take the red line. As you try to accelerate through the corner, you'll end up losing turning grip and it will take you quite wide. I'm now going to show you guys an example of an understeer, and in this clip I'm using the VW Lupo. So as you see, I come up to the corner, I'm in the driving line, I brake for the full amount of time, and as I accelerate through the corner I end up quite wide. I'll play the clip again in slow motion just so you can see exactly what happens. See there, I brake all the full length of the suggested driving line. As I accelerate through the corner I end up coming quite wide and hitting into the wall there. As a general trend, the cars that are most likely to experience understeer are FF cars. Before I go into what exactly an FF car is, I'm just going to show you how you can find out what drivetrain your car is using and whether it's an FF car. So go to your garage. I start off here on premium cars. You then want to click on drivetrain and then you can select the drivetrain. So here are my FF cars. I've got more in my standard cars, so I'll just take you there. You can see there that most of them are lightweight, generally small, more sort of everyday cars. So they're not sports cars, generally not designed for racing. And those that are cup cars, such as this one here that I click on, the Nissan Micra Cup car, they started off as a FF car and they've been redesigned for racing. So I'm now going to go into exactly what is an FF car. So the two F's stand for forward engine, forward drivetrain. And the drivetrain is which wheels are pulling the car along. So in an FF car, that means that the front wheels are pulling the car along. Now, what this results in is roughly, and again this is just rough averages and it changes from car to car, but roughly 65% of the weight is going to be at the front, 35% of the weight is going to be at the rear. Now when you accelerate, the weight changes to about 55 on the back, 45 on the front. What this means is that the front wheels will have less traction, less grip, and therefore you'll have less turning power. Remember, the steering is on the front wheels as well. So you'll lose a bit of power, you also lose your steering, which is crucial as to why understeer happens. It's therefore almost all down to timing, and that's how understeer occurs really. So I'm now going to go into a few ways of how to counter understeer. So the first is rolling through the corner. What I mean by this is you brake a little less, and then you just let go of the accelerator. Once you're around the corner, then you accelerate. This will prevent the whole rollback and loss of traction. The second, which you cannot do in an FF car because it doesn't have enough weight at the back, is to let your car slip out, as you can just see here. I'm going to replay this clip again. As you see, I brake quite sharply and then put down the accelerator hard so that the back slips out. What this results in is you've got a loss of traction on the back wheels and more traction on the front wheels, which means you've got more turning power. Then as the wheels at the back re-grip, you then accelerate through. As you can see in the next corner, this is the one problem with this technique. Even if you get the slide right, you can often end up veering to the other side of the road. I'm just going to explain why this happens. So even if you get the slide just right, the back wheels will lose traction and you'll make the slide. Now as the back wheels regain traction, they'll propel you forwards. Now if you're still counter steering to keep the slide going, it will propel you in that direction and you'll end up veering into the other side of the wall. I'm now going to talk about brake turning. So this is quite self-explanatory, but I'll go into it a bit anyway. So this is when, as you brake, you then start to turn, as opposed to braking and then accelerating through the corner. What happens is the weight is thrown to the front of the car. You then have more grip on the front tyres. Now, as anyone who knows a bit about physics will know, you can't have more force, you can just redistribute it. So what happens is you have more grip on the front wheels as the weight is on them, and then you can use that grip for turning. The problem here is if you turn too early, all of the force is going into braking. so you then have no force left over for turning. So you want to wait till you've slowed down sufficiently, but not too much that you're going too slow and you've lost speed. So you start turning maybe halfway through your brake, and then you've got more grip on the turn, and then you can accelerate through the rest of the corner. And again, it's quite hard to get right, but once you get the timing right and the acceleration right, you can get it spot on. Lastly then, I'm going to talk about hills. So I'll start with uphill. When you're going uphill, there's much more force on the rear of your car, which means that you've got much less on your steering wheels. This means that on a corner that is uphill, even if it's just a slight incline, then you'll have much more chance of getting an understeer. You therefore need to be much more careful about your speed. I would suggest taking uphill corners much slower than you normally would, and you should be fine. The other thing then is going downhill. When you're going downhill, you've got much more weight on the front of your car, so again, more grip on the steering wheels, which means that as you come to the corner, you'll find it much easier to make the turns. Just watch out that the back doesn't slip out though, because you can end up just swinging the back right out and going into a spin, but generally you'll find you rarely understeer coming down a hill. The last segment I'm going to do here, and this is going to be like something I do in every episode, is a bit about how you can tune your car in relation to the topic that I've been talking about. So in this episode I've been talking about understeer, so the trick I'm going to give you in this one is the suspension. So first off, you want to go into the parts shop, and under suspension you want to find yourself the fully customizable suspension. Purchase this and then go ahead and install it straight away. Now head over to your garage and click on the current car, then just go right onto tuning and open that menu up. Once you're here, scroll down to suspension, and if you installed it straight away it should already be checked. If not, just check the box and then head over to the customization part. Once you're here, ignore wheel alignment because we won't be needing that, and go over to suspension. You want to go to the spring rate and over to the front wheels there. I'm just going to quickly explain this. So the spring rate is measured in kilograms of force per millimeter, which basically means for every kilogram of force there is, the springs will depress 1 millimeter. So the less force you choose, the less force is required for the springs to go down, so it pretty much softens the suspension. So the softer they are at the front, the easier it is to transfer weight to the front and increasing the grip on the front tyres, which for a car that's understeering will help it turn around the corners easier as a general rule. Now I'm going to suggest putting it down to maybe 8.5 or 8-ish. You don't want to put it too low, as this can kind of mess up a few things. But yeah, I would suggest about 8 or 8.5, have a mess around, and depends again which car you're using. So I've just reset mine because I don't actually want to do it on this car, but you get the idea. So go to the back wheel then, and for the back one I'd suggest maybe 11, 11.5. Again, I'm not entirely sure, and it does depend which car you're using. And what I am going to say here is all of this stuff, what you need to do is work it out for yourself. I can't tell you where you're experiencing the understeer. It might be at the front of the corner, it might be at the end of the corner. Again, it might be on an FF car, it might not be on an FF car, and that all sort of, you have to take that all into account. And hopefully with all the information I've given you in this video, you can work out where you're experiencing understeer, and hopefully how you can then change your driving style or adjust your suspension like I've shown here to sort of counteract the understeer. And so again, hopefully you can work it out from what I've said, and it should be fairly obvious on what you need to do for your personal preferences. And again, if you can't get it right, go into practice mode, test it out, come back, change it up a little bit, and hopefully you'll get the combination just right. Hope this has helped you out, guys. If it has, be sure to check out my channel, and for more of these episodes and more tips and tricks, click the subscribe button for it to appear in your little subscribes box. And other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.